Oh, hi, yeah. It's me, Dennis Hopper. Hollywood. Whew. I'd kill for a bus right now. I gotta get out of here. Place will make you crazy. This film I just finished, Speed, something about making that movie just put me over the edge. Me. Explosions, chases, stunts. I mean, after all, a bus is just a bus, right?
Action, everybody! We're stealing action!
Everyone on this side of the bus. On this side of the bus as far as you can. Now!
People stay out of my way!
So, now you know what a bus looks like once a Hollywood crew gets a hold of it, huh? Me, I got a little surprise for the passengers of this rig. And if you knew what was happening, you wouldn't be sitting so close to your TV set. So why all the bomb squad gear, huh? You'll find out.
Dennis Hopper's a bomb guy who plants a bomb on this like elevator in like this building.
As he's bombed the main cables and it's resting on the emergency brakes, but he says that he's got bombs on that as well and he's demanding $3 million.
It's rigged to blow up if they don't give me the money.
All right, gentlemen, what we have here are 13 passengers in an express elevator. Below floor 30.
What's our clock? You gave 1 hour. That leaves us 23 minutes exactly.
Anything else that'll keep this elevator from falling?
In the basement. You're introduced to Jack Traven and Harry Temple. I'm Jack Traven, and Jeff Daniels is playing Harry Temple.
All right, pop quiz. Airport, gunman with one hostage. He's using her for cover. He's almost to a plane. You're 100 feet away.
Jack's kind of a renegade.
Shoot the hostage.
What?
Take her out of the equation. Go for the good wound and you can't get to the plane with her. Clear shot.
You're deeply nuts, you know that?
Jack breaks rules and Harry kind of goes, you know, your luck will run out someday.
Hold it! Pop quiz, hotshot. Terrorist holding a police hostage. He's got enough dynamite strapped to his chest to blow a building in half. Now, what do?
Though they think that the bomber is dead. We ultimately find out that he's not dead, and he comes back to both haunt Jack and pull another job.
I'm watching this one bus blow up, and the phone starts ringing, and it's Dennis Hopper. And he's saying,
There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb arms itself. And if it drops below 50, it will blow everybody up on the bus. You try to take any passengers off the bus, I will detonate it. I want my money by 11 a.m.
And he, by this time, has found out that it's our bus that's the next target, so he has to get on the bus.
Are you insured?
Yeah, why?
I'm at the wheel, and Keanu's directing me to some place where we can manage to keep the bus going over 50 miles an hour.
Stay on or get off. Stay on or get off.
Hold on!
This bus has to go 50 miles all the time on a freeway, and at one point it has to get off the freeway onto Surface Street, which is, with a bus, almost impossible.
This is much better. So every time we think we have a solution, there's something else attached to it.
Jeez. No, no, no! Get back!
You probably already figured it out, huh? I'm the bad guy. So what about the other characters rolling along in this 50-mile-an-hour time bomb? Let's take a ride over the set and meet them. Well, come on. Hey, you trust me, don't you? Come on.
I think that's what's nice about Keanu is that he is not the kind of character that we're used to seeing in these kinds of movies.
We're gonna die.
No, we're not. We got this far, okay?
Keanu, has all the talent. He's an incredible actor. He's very physical. He's extremely good looking. And he has all the elements in him to be like an incredible, attractive star.
He does what he feels is right, and he says what he feels, and I've really developed an incredible amount of respect for Keanu because he's so honest.
No, it's really kind of ludicrous that I leave a man with a bullet hole in his chest, kind of reclining on a bench. Jack and Addie, they just go through such extreme circumstances where they kind of end up depending on each other and working with each other.
Jack! Jack, I can't hold this anymore! No!
She's always cracking jokes, and he's, because of his training, he's very sort of rigid.
Miss, can you handle this bus?
Oh, sure, it's just like driving a really big Pinto.
I need to know, can you handle this bus?
I'm fine. Just tell me what the plan is. Is there a plan?
Just for you to drive. We're okay for now. Just keep us above 50.
We're very, very fortunate in having Sandy Bullock play the role of Annie.
We should follow it. I think we should follow it. That's Hollywood is the law.
To me, the most important thing was I needed an actress who really you could believe that she could drive this bus.
You want me to hit that thing?
Yeah, I'll cue you for this turn signal because it's gonna...
I'm trying to defuse the bombs, and she's careening through the streets, and she's the heroine. All right, Harry, we're in.
Oh, Jesus. God, no!
Go left!
Sorry! Oh, jeez!
Dennis Hopper's a wonderful actor who has done so many different kinds of roles over the years, and yet he's never played this kind of role before.
Miss, you can't be this close. You need to move back.
Oh, no, Jack Traven said
Jack Traven, yes, he asked that you be brought out of harm's way. Just move right over here.
He's bringing to this character a real kind of loneliness, tragedy.
No! No!
Everybody's got their dark side, I'm sure that's his dark side on screen, but he's a really cool guy.
Ha ha ha, huh? Jeff Daniels is a wonderful actor.
That's our scumbag! We got him, Jack. We found him.
You can get to his place inside of 15 minutes.
Great. Jack, I want you to get out of there and sit tight. We're gonna go after the source.
Harry has been around a while. He's seen a lot. And these guys are very safety first, and you don't put each other at risk.
You sure it'll hold?
It'll hold. He's the more experienced officer. Jack is a little more aggressive in terms of how he approaches situations.
Why did I take this job?
Come on, 30 more years of this, you get a tiny pension and a cheap gold watch.
Cool.
Let's get this straight. Making movies is not fun. You ever spend 7 weeks on a bus or sit in your car on the LA freeway with 400 extras to recreate rush hour traffic? Of course, we did get to blow up a lot of stuff.
Excuse me, Mr. Hopper.
Thank you. Now let's meet the talented people behind the cameras. Director Jan de Bont and the rest of the Speed production team.
What can I say about Jan de Bont?
This is his first film that he's directed. He's one of the great action cinematographers. And it's been really a pleasure working with him. He's really a good director.
It was a little messy. We have to do that fight again.
That one punch, yeah.
Yeah. Dennis, your hit's still was a little soft, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
He sees things. You can tell that there's a real cinematic kind of director of photography eye going on there, and it's been great to watch.
He's been around some of the greatest directors, and that's the best, I think the best lesson, you know, you can get. I don't think you can get better training.
The kissing it goes on and on and on and on and on, and then you pull back.
That wasn't in my contract. Is that how you're going to do it? That's what I figured. They're going to do a kiss, have this pan back, the overall view of the city, and this funky music starts playing in the back. So that's, see, I knew it.
But it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. I mean, I always felt really very comfortable with actors being a DP, and I always talked to him all the time.
Look around, you here. Just turn around.
Just turn around. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan de Bont. Ladies and gentlemen.
What are we into here?
To me, acting is so difficult. You know, I think it's the most difficult part of making a movie.
It's just before they reach the turn. I think you should greet people. We're going to tip over. I'm sure. You know. I think because
Right before we hit.
Yeah, but when you get into the turn.
That is a dead end.
There's a turn.
I can't make that turn.
You can make it.
No.
Keep left.
No,
Keep left. You make it wide.
Oh God, we're gonna tip over. We're gonna tip over.
He's known for just like, you know, he doesn't want the camera tied down. He wants freedom. He wants to move around, and I'm seeing that.
Left. Make it wide. Action.
He's extreme. He's out. You know, that's cool. Yeah, let's go.
To create more authentic action sequences, the filmmakers called upon the expertise of a police technical advisor.
My name is Randy Walker, and the name of our business is Call the Cops.
Action.
We're a police technical advising business. We coach the actors how to hold the weapons properly, how to move properly.
I get to wear this really bitchin' SWAT outfit, this really cool uniform.
I fire a lot of automatic weapons.
Get in there. Get in.
The production utilized a fleet of 12 buses to fill the special requirements of the script.
There's a bus that has no windshield in the front, and then they would have a platform built in front of it, and then they could place cameras.
The bus behind us is the process bus, which was used for all the underneath photography. When Keanu is examining the bombs, this was used only for underneath photography.
One that was very fast and could do really big stunts with. A couple to blow up.
And then there was another bus where there was a windshield and the driver was on top of the bus, and then Sandra would drive.
I thought, okay, this is gonna be nice. I get to sit, drive the bus for a couple of weeks. It's not as easy as it looks.
I don't mind doing some of my own stunts, but the ones in Speed, they even give the professionals second thoughts. Now this movie is a stuntman's dream or nightmare, depending upon the point of view.
2, 3, go.
Every movie has, you know, like a couple of big action scenes, like 3 or 4, you know. Every scene was like that in our movie.
We've blown up elevator shafts and had buses going at 100 miles an hour, and today we're going to blow up a parking lot. Just another day in Hollywood, I guess.
We have a really great stunt coordinator, Gary Himes, and so it really instills confidence.
Right about there, just as you... He's a race car driver, and so he has great knowledge of moving stunts.
A lot of times we were able to put stunt people on the bus, but the majority of the time it was the cast. And so if there should be an accident, they'd be totally unprepared, and there's more of a chance of people getting seriously hurt.
They let us be in the bus on a few of the car crashes. There's one sequence where the bus careened off of 4 different cars, and they let us sit in there for that, and that was cool.
When the stunt's going on, you see me stuffing my face. It's the biggest risk I take is with the calories and the fat.
Hold on, everyone! She's gonna blow.
I tend to film really close with my camera with the actors. Dennis Hopper and Keanu Reeves had to do almost all the stunts themselves.
I'll have a fight scene on top of a moving train.
They're rolling around on this roof. It's a very physical fight. Jan would ask for another take, and you know, Dennis would just pop right up and brush himself off and say, let's go.
We've been running stairs and hauling people out of elevators and stuff.
11 stitches right there.
Smashed through a door.
Some driving and some leaping.
Keanu, he amazed me. I mean, he was able to do so much of his own stunt work in the movie.
For the film's riveting subway chase, a Hollywood visual effects team weaved movie magic.
The train goes beyond the normal service tunnels and into a construction environment. So what we've done is to create in miniature that construction environment. As the train picks up speed and derails, it ultimately slams into a concrete column, splits one of the cars in two, and sends one of the cars up onto Hollywood Boulevard.
This guy weighs about 150 pounds, and he's going to be doing 15 miles an hour through there, and we've got these cameras right next to the track.
You standing by the train?
Yeah, train's ready.
As the train goes faster and faster, they hit a curve, and they shoot out of the ground and landed right in front of the Chinese theater.
The stunt people that I've given specific jobs to, they also have to be well aware that there's vehicles working, so they don't just jump out into the street at the wrong moment.
That Metrorail jump, it was like driving with blinders on.
There was a lot of blind spots, especially when I hit the wall. It was a big blur, but I did have some vision.
Unbelievable. One of Speed's most dangerous stunts took place on LA's recently completed Century Freeway.
The bus jump was a challenge of its own.
Jack! There's a gap in the road up ahead. It's big. You're kidding.
The bus has to jump over a 50-foot gap in the freeway, which has yet to be completed.
Jack!
Floor it.
What?
Floor it. It's an interchange. There might be an incline. Floor it.
Fine.
With all stunts like that, we spent weeks rehearsing those things.
Do you feel comfortable that you could make it by the ramp here?
Yeah,
As long as there's nothing in
I'll
the way?
back off a little bit before I get
Right,
here.
right.
Try to get up to speed before I
Right.
get here and then come out of it.
Okay.
Okay, start slowing it down,
When we were ready to go, and he was ready to start his almost, I think, 3/4 of a mile run up to the ramp, they would put him in the suspension harness.
The release cable's going to be longer?
Yeah, it needs to be at least another...
Years ago, I designed a suspension system. A lot of guys were breaking their backs and ending up with either back or neck injuries because of, on the impact, they'd get spinal compression.
You hook in, this is always facing out, right?
The harnesses come over the shoulders to actually pull him down as this other harness is pulling him up. So you're kind of floating in limbo.
Like that?
Jan will literally shoot with 5 cameras for an action scene. It's amazing what he's able to do in that respect.
And then the bus comes in.
I just want to make sure that we have a safety person on every camera. There's 4 man cameras that I know of right now in the roadway. Okay?
I've done a lot of these, and one thing that goes through my mind is something coming apart and impaling me. You know, that's the biggest fear I have when I'm doing those kind of things.
As far as our safety concerns, we have the paramedic up on the ramp over there, and we also have the stunt safety team with fire suits, fire extinguishers, pry bars, and so forth. If I see that there's any problem whatsoever, if for any reason the bus drops a wheel off this side or anything, I'm just gonna yell, leave, leave, leave.
Finally, after weeks of preparation with the stuntman safely harnessed, cameras were ready to roll.
The front end of the bus, when it hit the jump ramp, went further up into the air than anybody had really anticipated.
Did you see the bus after we did it? The front end buckled up like that. If I'd been in the regular driver's seat, it probably would have broke my back.
To complete the sequence, state-of-the-art computer graphics were required.
This is the original frames that we had to work with. The original footage that they shot live. It takes like 2-3 minutes a frame to get it from the computer onto a piece of film.
We're doing 3 matte paintings that illustrate that whole sequence where the bus is approaching that gap, making the jump itself, and then landing on the other side.
To my knowledge, nobody had ever jumped a bus the distance and the height that we had jumped this one.
I think it's one of the most exciting rides they will ever see.
We're either going 100 miles an hour, blowing something up, or getting blown up.
The audiences are going to be walking out of that theater completely exhausted.
You feel like you're caught up on this sort of insane ride that nobody can stop.
It's a big action picture.
It's thrilling.
Pop quiz. You have a hair trigger aimed at your head. What do you do? What do you do?
That's it for the making of Speed. Rush Hour will never be the same. Hey, don't worry, though. There's still a lot of surprises left. For me, I'm blowing this town. Speed.
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 Yeah, good idea. Good idea for a title. They should name it Speed. We've blown up elevator shafts. I had buses going at 100 miles an hour. Had window washing things come crashing into housing shed. Today we're going to blow up a parking lot. Just another day in Hollywood, I guess.
We're using basically 12 buses for one picture bus that we see in the movie.
We had 2 exterior buses that were used only for exterior photography.
A couple to blow up.
A couple of the buses are interior buses where we have lighting on the top and we're towing a generator from behind.
One of which was the Pope Mobile.
Which is a bus that has no windshield in the front, and then they would have a platform built in front of it, and then they could place cameras.
So it had an enclosed Perspex box attached to the front where the camera crews would work, and so it was affectionately dubbed the Pope Mobile by the crew.
One to jump, one to go on two wheels.
Specially made bus with hydraulics where a wheel comes down and it tilts over and goes on its side.
Two stunt buses, which were used for all the action sequences and hitting cars and things like that. We had various carcass buses. We had the process bus behind us.
I might have forgotten a few along the way.
So they all were unique to their function.
So with the interior buses, we had, like, you know, to make it totally believable that Sandy was driving the bus, I want to really see her driving the bus. And to do that, we had to find positions and places in the bus we could, you know, locate a blind driver.
And the driver was on top of the bus, and then Sandra would drive.
But sometimes it had to be behind the second row of passengers.
So, you know, in any kind of complicated picture like this, especially when this bus has to do so many different things, you need a number of different buses to accomplish all the things that one needs to accomplish to you know, work in the story as it is.
And I think what we could do now, because I think it's just before they reach the turn. I think you should greet people. We're going to tip over. I'm sure. You know. I think
right before we hit.
Yeah, but when you get into the turn, and you're gonna try to match it again with your feeling this right.
Just say it twice. I mean, just say it. I'm serious. I'm asking you serious questions.
I didn't want to get people bored with the bus too quickly, you know, because if you're in a bus for that long of a movie, it's pretty dangerous. And I used an extremely movable camera and multiple cameras all the time, and with longer lenses, so I revealed pieces of the bus, you know, a little bit at a time by being close most of the time. And once in a while, you go to a wider angle or a movable wide angle, never stay on it too long. It always stayed interesting. That was really important because, you know, otherwise it would be, you can only shoot forward, you can shoot backward. How many positions can you have in a bus?
Jan will just put a camera anywhere, and it's amazing what he's able to do in that respect.
You know, he doesn't want the camera tied down. He wants freedom. He wants to move around, and I'm seeing that. You know, and he's extreme.
Ready and crash!
Just turn around.
Just turn around. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan de Bont. Ladies and gentlemen.
What are we into?
In the last month and a half, Jan de Bont has been taking the camera. He's in the fire.
Well, Jan doesn't just operate sometimes. He also will pull focus as well, and he does a lot of things on a movie.
Well, I almost had to, because those buses, they have windows everywhere, so we couldn't. I mean, we had 15 actors in there, and a lot of the time we saw those actors in the shots. We had no crew. The crew had to. I mean, where are you gonna put them all? You know, so we had the sound mixer in there, a script girl, a camera operator, and there was no space. There was no space for me to be, so the only way I could do it myself, and I had to quite often have to do it on my own slate because there was no position for the clapper loader. I had to do a lot of those things for myself. So that's, you know, the main reason that I had to really, you know, say, okay, guys, you stay on the truck, you stay at the camera track. I'll operate because so I could look at the actors.
He's very particular about how he wanted this particular movie to look. The camera's always moving in a real precise way, just to keep everything edgy. And I think sometimes it's easier for him, you know, just say, okay, I'll just take care of this one, and you know, and do it. So it's not because anybody doesn't know how to do it, but it's more because he knows exactly what he wants. And I think, given some of our time constraints, it was easier for him to just do it than you know, than show somebody else what he wanted.
Bang, 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 bang!
Oh, fuck, he fell off. Are you okay?
There's a bang at every party.
But if you let it go, there she goes.
If you see it, she's gonna understand this.
We were really extremely lucky that LA, you know, where they haven't built freeways in a long, long time, had still one unfinished freeway, the Century Freeway. And they were willing to have us film there as long as we would never be in their way.
We were able to get permission to shoot for the entire last month of the freeway's construction, which meant operationally for us, we had to move almost every other day in order to find a piece of the freeway where the construction crews were not working, where we could shoot. And we had continuity problems because every day we'd come back to work and they would have put fences up. So we were constantly struggling with the changing look of the freeway.
Like the very first day we started filming, all of a sudden somebody said, hey, there's no lines on the freeway, what happened? I never just realized that freeways have lines, so we quickly had to paint lines on the freeway and all the things. So we helped them actually finishing the freeway, which was kind of funny, so that they got it done in time.
As a matter of fact, it opened 5 days after we finished.
I mean, without the Central Freeway, it would have been almost impossible.
If we had not had that freeway, I think it would have cost a great deal of money and effort to take the company to some other state in order to find a freeway that we could get that much cooperation on.
Sitting at a table, talking to someone, having some coffee, but no.
Every movie has, you know, like a couple of big action scenes, like 3 or 4, you know. We had, every scene was like that in our movie. One of the very first things when I read the script, I said, oh my God, this is going to be so dangerous for everyone. Moving vehicles, helicopters, trains, falling elevators. I mean, how is actor going to survive that?
The planning was really complicated on this picture, not because the stunts alone were dangerous, but because they were complicated and involved all kinds of interaction between the buses and cars and extras. And so the amount of planning that needed to go into it was extraordinary.
So pretty much then the other 2 motorcycles, Gary and Holiday, right here. You guys will fall in behind the bus and you'll stay about, stay about 2 to 3 car lengths back, okay, since they have time to react if there's a problem, right? And you guys will just stay with the bus out to the sides a little bit, but then once again, you guys cut the corner off, pinch it off a little bit. Okay. Yep. And just be aware that if the bus gets hung up or anything, when we do that, this first take we won't, but probably the second we will make contact. That, when we do tap that you guys have plenty of room to recover there and nobody gets, there's no problem there.
The little toy cars are invaluable to setting up a shot, especially we had some shots where I had, 50 stunt people in cars. And it's one thing to explain it, but when you have a visual reference like that and you can literally go through the moves and you can say, well, John, you're in this car here and you're going to swerve around Gary, who's in this car here, it's black and white.
Let me explain what you guys do real quick. The bus goes through everything, correct? Then there's Gary and Holiday, and they go through, and they should be all the way here past that police car as you're braking the intersection. And we want you like 10 seconds back is what they said. And you can really get out there and get it kind of out of shape, come sliding. And unless I'm going to have you, right, like this, get out of your car and run around to the front of your car here. So like you're behind Ronnie's here, and you're going to have to stay heads up, right?
Yeah. By doing that and laying it out that way, it allows me to show the stunt people where the cameras will be, where I want their move to take place in relationship to the camera, and also it lets everyone know where the other person is supposed to be and is going to be. Then we always, with the little cars, we talk about what if something should go wrong. We always want to leave everyone an out. So, when I have the little cars out there and I'm explaining the shot, I always say, now, if this should happen, everybody can go to the left and the car coming at them will go to the right. For instance, the shot in Long Beach where we're going head on and down a one-way street with the bus, well, obviously, the consequences could be rather severe if the bus were to bail out to the right and the car were to go the same direction, you'd end up with a head-on. So By using the little cars, it allows us to really lay it out so everybody has a visual reference to it. Just exit the shot, past the last camera here, when you just break into the shot. All right, are there any questions about this at all? Depending on what the stunt involves at the time, we make a determination as to how dangerous it is. And at that point, there's a fine line between what would be by all means too dangerous for the actor and the fact that you're not going to be able to even recognize the actor, so you might as well use a double in those situations, as opposed to times when it would be great if you could use the actor, and in those cases, we try to, rehearse, we work the actor into the situation, and then depending on how comfortable he is and how comfortable I am and the communication we have, we make that determination whether he'll do the shot or not.
Well, I took some shrapnel this morning, shotgun blast up through my face. Kind of great to walk by the stunt guys who were like, suddenly I was like a member of the club, It was nice to be, I'm all right, it didn't hurt me too much. But, do that kind of, nothing.
In Keanu's case, he was able to do so much of his own stunt work in the movie.
The more that you can have the actor participate in the stunts, the more saleable I think the action sequences are, and the more latitude it gives a director in terms of what they can shoot. So Keanu's very physical and likes to be involved in those things.
Keanu, who was in the beginning a little bit hesitant about all this, he started to like it so much, and he got so into it. He wanted to do almost everything himself.
One of the situations that comes to mind early on was when he's transferring from the Jaguar to the bus. We had talked about it, we had talked it through, he seemed very comfortable with it. I went ahead and built a platform under the bus, so if he did miss, he wasn't going to hit the ground because we're running 50 miles an hour down the freeway. And once we got out there and the first time we went to shoot it, he was just a little bit uncomfortable with the situation, so I cut the shot and we went back. We talked about making a couple little changes, nothing major, and he did it. And he did it so well that we wanted to get one more take of that, and we actually moved the car and the bus further apart, and he went for it. And I mean, it was a great shot.
And when he's underneath that bus, it's him. It's now double. It's him underneath that bus in that big dollar sequence, and it doesn't look dangerous. It was dangerous. We secured him on all sides, but still, you never really know. You're under a bus going 50 miles an hour, and it's not easy.
With all stunts like that, we spent weeks rehearsing those things. We'd go ahead, we'd come up with the idea of how we were going to go about filming it. Then we'd actually rig the apparatus, and either myself or one of the other stuntmen, we'd begin testing it. And through the testing process, we're able to find out what the danger elements are, what we can do to limit those. Once we started to shoot, we did a couple of shots with the doubles, and then we realized that we really had to put Keanu in there. And he just, there again, it was amazing. His concentration level was there. If he was uncomfortable, he'd tell you. It wasn't an easy spot by any means, being under a bus that's roaring along at 40, 50 miles an hour, and there's always a chance that the bus could blow a tire, something unforeseen could happen. Even though you try to, eliminate all the possible risks, you can't, foresee things like a blown tire taking place. We had a plan in place that how we would pull him out of there in case something, terribly wrong happened, and it worked out real well. In fact, I did, just to test him, I did yank him out of one of the shots, just to be sure that he knew that I was there and that we had him at all times. And once we did that, he looked at me and said, what are you doing? And I explained to him that I just wanted to be sure that he knew that at any time he could get out of that. So it worked real well.
But he loved it, and then I think that makes this film so real. You feel that it's like you feel all the danger. You not only see it, you feel it as well.
Mac, get me out of here!
As a stunt coordinator, you have to have a close relationship with the special effects coordinator, because stunts and effects do go hand in hand. And so many times we're entrusting our lives with the special effects people because, we don't rig our own explosions. basically they do most of the rigging for us. So we have to have great communication. We're all there to create a specific illusion.
But that should be after the fireball, right? So it's boom, boom,
But
bing.
almost as the, you know how the fireball accumulates and then
And
rises?
it
It should fall through the fire.
Right.
Because it is a team effort. I mean, we all, special effects, stunts, camera, all of us, we all work together as a team. And there is no one person that really should stand out, so to speak. You know, it really is a joint effort by all the people involved. Gil Combs, who was my bus driver, who was driving from the roof of the bus. You know, I would talk to Gil prior to every shot, let him know, you know, what was going on and literally who was on the bus, because a lot of times we were able to put stunt people on the bus, but the majority of the time it was the cast. And, you know, to me, one life isn't more important than another. It just has to do with the physical training and so forth. I mean, if the bus were to roll over, I know if I had the bus full of my stunt people, that they would be able to make the right decisions then and to protect themselves. Whereas when you have a group of extras and actors and so forth, you know, they put so much faith and trust in us as stunt people that they're not anticipating the problem. They're involved in their role, what's taking place in terms of the action and their dialogue. And so if there should be an accident, you know, they'd be totally unprepared and, you know, there's more of a chance of people getting seriously hurt. So given that, if we're going to drive something, let's say, in a shot when we're doing a stunt, let's say 9/10 or 10/10, we'll back that off to like 6/10, 7/10 when we have the cast on board, just to maintain that level of safety. As the bus goes by, the timing is as soon as the bus rounds the corner. So if this is the corner, you guys are coming this way at the bus, right? As soon as the bus does that, as soon as it clears there, you guys are throwing them. That's the timing. You know, and no two stuntmen are alike. I've worked with, you know, many stuntmen over the years that tend to get a little more, let's say, amped up before a stunt or after a stunt than others. And you know, what I like to see as a stunt coordinator, I like to see someone that has a good, healthy sense of fear.
I've done a lot of these, and one thing that goes through my mind is something coming apart and impaling me. You know, that's the biggest fear I have when I'm doing those kind of things.
That makes me feel good because I know that they have some concerns and they're not going to be reckless and they're going to do pretty much what, you know, they've been asked to do. Whereas you run into some guys and they become a bit cavalier about it. You really wonder deep down inside if they're going to follow directions, because the bottom line is once you say action, they're in control of the situation. There's not much you can do. You know, as a stunt coordinator, I'm usually behind camera, making sure that, you know, we've gotten the shot and it's what the director is looking for. And you know, I like to see a guy that is concerned about his well-being. You know, it makes me feel better.
Of course, we get nervous. You know, we're human, but also we're kind of insane too. You know, we're not crazy. Crazy people get you hurt, but you gotta have a degree of insanity.
From a speeding bus, basically you end up on a speeding subway train. Big fight scene on top of the train, and the space on top of the subway is like only like, you know, 20 inches or less.
The fight on the roof of the train, that was difficult just in terms of the working area and so forth.
And to have a real fight on top of that train, I mean, that's life-threatening, because the moment you just only have to forget one time to just keep your head down and you will be at the end of it. And so we decided to use real footage and intercut it with real projection footage. I tend to film really close with my camera with the actors. Dennis Hopper and Keanu Reeves had to do almost all the stunts themselves on top of it. So that whole fight was, because you're so close, I would instantly recognize if it were a stuntman or double. So they had to do it themselves, and they did such a great job.
In Keanu's case, he amazed me. I mean, he was able to do so much of his own stunt work in the movie.
Bang, 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 bang.
And Dennis was so gracious and so easy to get along with, and really is a true professional. There were times that we'd have to do multiple takes, and you know, and everybody's tired, they're rolling around on this roof, it's a very physical fight. Jan would ask for another take.
Can you see that again?
Yeah. Play it back, Steve. I'd like to do it one more time.
And you know, Dennis would just pop right up and brush himself off and say, let's go, you know, and he was a real trooper. And he did a very good fight.
And then they finally end up coming out of the ground, they shoot out of the ground, and land up on Hollywood Boulevard in front of the Chinese Theater.
That was one of the more difficult sequences in the movie in terms of the logistics involved and working with the traffic control and so forth, because we did have to shut down, I believe it was 4 blocks there.
We had to shut down Hollywood Boulevard. We had to start the approach of the train on the east side of Highland Avenue, which meant we had to hold traffic on Highland. We had cables strung across Highland for one of the jumps because the train was actually being towed up the street and over the ramp. We also had a lot of lockup problems because obviously, you know, we could not clear the street of all the tourists and everybody. So again, it was a complicated shot, and it happened unfortunately to rain that morning, which made it doubly dangerous. And again, you know, fortunately we were very safe there.
On the rehearsal, so everybody's aware, there's 2 other vehicles. There's 4 total working. There's 2 other vehicles that are working in conjunction with Brian. When Brian is at just the nose of the train is breaking through the sign there, the Hollywood Station sign, Ronnie Rondell will be in a car heading westbound, okay? Ronnie will be alongside the Chapman crane when that breaks through. And he will just continue on, but that's the gap, the distance. Joffrey Brown, and Joffrey, where are you? Joffrey will be heading eastbound, and Joffrey will be right at this sign, probably somewhere right below Christmas, when the train breaks through, okay? So just everybody should understand, those 2 vehicles will be working. No one should be running across for any reason. And the stunt people that I've given specific jobs to, they also have to be well aware that there's vehicles working so they don't just jump out into the street at the wrong moment.
That was a 2-part jump, the first being the actual jump and landing.
There's a lot of work that went into this. The cage inside for me is incredible. There's a roll cage and 3 sets of shocks on the front and rear. They're specially pressurized heavy-duty shocks, and the tire pressure, and I'm in a harness that's suspended from the ceiling, so it absorbs all the shock. There's just a lot of dampening things to keep me from getting hurt.
The problem was we couldn't see the driver, right? That one was not supposed to be driven because at that point in the script it's unmanned. Keanu and Sandra are supposed to be in the back. So he was looking through a small little porthole and basically it was like driving with blinders on. And the second one being what we call a pipe ramp, where the rail car ran up a pipe which causes it to lay over on its side. And the third part of that being the drag, where the car, once it's on its side, was attached to a cable and dragged down the street. In my 17 years, I can only remember doing 1 car chase on Hollywood Boulevard where we were working in that particular area. And I think all the spectators, all the people that, you know, come from out of town, their dreams were fulfilled that day, you know, being able to see the stars, to see all the action that they saw. And it was an incredible sequence. The bus jump was a challenge of its own because, to my knowledge, nobody had ever jumped a bus the distance and the height that we had jumped this one.
The cap was originally not in the script, and I wanted something big to happen at that moment in the movie. And I said, what can happen on the freeway? And then I was driving over that Century Free one time, just scouting for location, and it was like a big section missing. So, wow, what would happen if this bus had to jump over that gap? And then I told it to the writer, and we wrote it in the script. That's the easy part. And I said, how are you going to do this? Because those buses don't jump very well, as you might have seen.
I'll let you come right up here, and see at that big pillar right there, you'll have to make a fairly good veer because I don't want you to get into any of this at all. Now, do you feel comfortable that you could make it by the ramp here?
Yeah, but I'll back off a little bit before I get there.
Right.
Try to get up to speed before I get here and then come out of it.
Okay. Or the other thing we can do, just to check speed, is to start you straight down there
and just run
right on in.
We had to build a special bus that could go at least 70 miles an hour.
And it had super strong shock absorbers put in it.
And I also moved the driver's compartment. The driver was driving the bus from 15 feet back in the bus in the center. So this way, being centered in the bus, he could line up on the ramp better, as well as if something did go wrong or if he were to lose the steering on landing, he'd had something to cushion the blow if he were to run into an abutment or something. What I'd like to do, as soon as we get the IMO in place, I think before we have the safety meeting, I'd like to do the speed run, right? Because that's going to tell me a lot right there. We've never seen this bus handle its speed. And once we do that and see how well it's tracking and we'll talk about it, then from there, we'll go ahead, we'll have a safety meeting, and we'll determine what should be a lock-off and what's operated, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's, as soon as the camera's in the bus, we'll go ahead and do a speed run.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Years ago, in the late 70s, early 80s, a lot of guys were breaking their backs and ending up with either back or neck injuries because of, on the impact, they'd get spinal compression. So I designed a suspension system where the driver is actually suspended in the vehicle. And what this harness does is it suspends the driver in the vehicle, and then the harnesses come over the shoulders to actually pull him down as this other harness is pulling him up. So you're kind of floating in limbo, and you're suspended in the seat as well. And so what this does, on impact, it allows your body to travel independently from the vehicle. I just want to make sure that we have a safety person, Brian, on every camera. I'm going to have the grips build steps going over the K-rail here, and I want to lay cot pads on the other side. So we have a safety person for Mike Ferris, for Bill, for Mike over here. And do we know who's operating this very front camera?
I think it's Alex.
Alex, okay. We based the ramp design off of previous jumps I had done. The ramp was, I believe the ramp ended up weighing close to 80 tons. It was all made out of structural I-beam, and we put a collapsible kicker on the end of the ramp, which what that does is when the bus is leaving the ramp, it sets the attitude, the flying attitude through the air of the bus, and then it drops away before the rear wheels get to it. So what you're doing is you're setting the attitude that the bus will fly through the air before it even leaves the ramp.
Now, one question, everything is going good. You want me to clear those cameras there?
Yes, absolutely. I want you to clear the cameras, and I want you to stop. See where the like the orange dumpster is? Stop there. If you stop by the orange dumpsters there, I'm going to have the paramedics standing by up over there, and almost if there's any problem or whatever, job, if you need to stop sooner, the best, see where that station wagon is? Just pull it over there, you know? Now I'm leaving those semis on those angles there, so if anything, you glance off those, exactly, and I tucked them way up on the inside. But what I would like you to do is if you have a good landing and, you know, everything's in control, is just pretty much follow the dots.
Okay, stay on the
you know, exactly. And just, you know, just arc right around and stop by that orange dumpster. That would be the perfect scenario right there.
You know, it's tense. I mean, when you're doing that kind of stunt and it's that big, and you can only do it once, you know, you're shooting with 10 cameras, and it has to be right.
Okay. Well, guys, everyone would pay attention, please. What we're going to do is the bus is going to start the other side of base camp. All right, just so everybody's aware of the path and the lockup that's required. The bus will start on the other side of base camp. Once it passes base camp, it's going to duck to its left and run right up against that retaining wall, the sound wall. Now, I'll be right over about where Chris is there. Chris, raise your hand. I'll have the megaphone. If I see that there's any problem whatsoever, if for any reason the bus drops a wheel off this side or anything, I'm just going to yell, leave, leave, leave. Otherwise, I'm not going to say anything. So if you hear me screaming like that, I want to pull everyone off the cameras, because that means that the bus has dropped a wheel off the ramp and it's coming our way. If he lands and everything's fine, just let the bus go right by you, okay? If he lands, if it does lose a wheel, if for any reason it starts to veer towards those cameras, and you'll know it, give yourself enough time to take you and the operator over the wall. Is that clear? As far as our safety concerns, we have the paramedic up on the ramp over there, and we also have the stunt safety team with fire suits, fire extinguishers, pry bars, and so forth. We have the helicopter standing by, and Craig, that'll be warmed up and ready to get airborne, right? We've already established communications with UCLA Medical Center. We've taken all the appropriate steps. What I would like is when the bus does come to a stop, I don't want anyone to come in other than those people who have been designated. Now, once again, I want everybody to really understand this. If I see the bus, if for any reason is coming off that ramp wrong, and I yell, leave, or you just hear me yell anything, I want everybody against this wall to go to the far side and leave plenty of room for anybody that's on this side to get over, okay? So if you hear me yell anything, once that bus is approaching the ramp, that's get out of there. Any other questions? Okay, all right, thank you very much. About 3 feet.
See, the tires blew, the doors came off, it blew the oil pan, oil went everywhere. A lot of dummies flew around inside the bus, you know. It's a high you can't explain, you know. It's just a natural feeling that everything goes completely silent when you're in there. All you hear is like a, you know, and it's kind of really weird. Everything goes into slow motion almost.
It went real well. We knew the bus, we wanted to hit it at 65. And we ended up hitting it, I believe, at 61, and that, as it was, we started him over a mile away for the run up to the ramp, and it flew 109 feet downrange, and from the bottom of the front wheels to the ground, it was right around 20 feet in the air at its highest point.
The front end of the bus, when it hit the jump ramp, went further up into the air than anybody had really anticipated, so the front end of the bus went through the top of the frame of all the cameras. And Jan didn't expect it, so he was a little upset because it didn't, you know, he hadn't framed the cameras for what ultimately happened.
It's going to be circuit on that because the rear end goes like this.
But as it turned out, you know, we had 9 cameras, I think, on the stunt, so he was able to cut around and it worked great. And thank God the stunt guy was okay, and Jan ended up being happy with it.
It was a very spectacular jump, and the fact that no one got hurt, it worked out real well for us.
My name is Boyd Shermis. I'm the visual effects supervisor for the film Speed. What you're seeing here is a rough move test for the opening credits sequence, where we start at the top and we travel down about 11 floors and we park ourselves where the main title comes and whips in, and then the elevator, the camera rather, continues to move on down. So what we do is we program this with motion control cameras so that we can be an exact amount of time on any given floor.
There's explosions in the elevator shaft. Most of those were done up close and practical. You know, they built the 4-story set mock-up on stage. What we're using this shaft for the most part, is to cut into the sequence some of the long shots that they didn't have the opportunity to get in the practical stage. So where we need to see the elevator traveling many floors, 20, 30 floors as it's falling, or as it's falling by us, we use the miniature to capture those shots. Using VistaVision allows me to frame multiple elements up in a flat format. When you're dealing with VistaVision, you're dealing with a negative area that's twice the image size that you would use on a standard 35mm photography for film. But what it does for us primarily, two things. One is it allows us to frame in the lens multiple elements. If we were to shoot a background in anamorphic, for example, it would all be a squeezed image, so that if I tried to reference that image again and line up a new image that will lay on top of it, I'm dealing with a squeezed image, so that it makes it very difficult to get a decent lineup. By utilizing the VistaVision format, we can still retain that 2:3:5 ratio, which is anamorphic ratios, only in a flat perspective. So that as I line up multiple elements, for example, there's a shot where Keanu Reeves is traveling up the elevator shaft, and he will be composited into the miniature. So I've got to be able to line up those two images of both Keanu and the elevator shaft in the lens. And if I were to do that in anamorphic, it would be very difficult to line that up.
It goes a little bit lower, tiny little bit. Okay. How about that, Boyd?
We've been working on a series of shots for the bus jump.
Everybody hold on!
We're doing 3 matte paintings that illustrate that whole sequence where the bus is approaching that gap, making the jump itself, and then landing on the other side. There's a shot where the bus is still about a half mile from the ramp, maybe a little bit more than that, and we're in an aerial POV. So we follow the bus, we pick it up, and we zoom ahead of the bus into the gap. So there's an aerial zoom into that gap, which is happening as a 3-dimensional matte painting. And then there's another establishing shot lower to the ground, which is establishing the gap before the bus arrives there as well. And then our next shot is where the actual jump happens, where you see the bus going, off the edge of the freeway at full speed. And then when it lands on the other side again, our final shot in that sequence is watching the bus land on the other side of the freeway and just barely making it.
This is the original frames that we had to work with. The original footage that they shot live, where the bus had jumped off a ramp and was coming in for the landing. Well, from here we had a matte painter basically remove all the front half of the concrete and put in something that looked like scaffolding and that sort of thing. So this is all matte painting. I mean, everything from here and down and over was all painted in, taken from other scenes or created from scratch. This was actually shot with a static plate. We put in the camera move, and then the shadow was all fake. It had to track up the side of the painting here. Just a lot of debris, and the smoke when it hits all had to be added on. And problems with the split line, where the bus crossed over a lot of the stuff that we had to replace. Just had to paint that by hand. And just little stuff like the highlights on the edges of the pipes had to go away when it was in shadow, and the shadows that are cast had to go away when the whole thing was in shadow as well. These little subtle things that your eye will see, and then of course the whole camera move. The original plate was shot without any kind of move on it, so we had to put that in as well, reposition it, just to give it a little more life. Well, once we do all this digitally, and it's done at a high resolution, obviously. There's upstairs a bunch of basically very high resolution TV screens that are set up to project light through a piece of film, and it's just like very, very slow motion, exposing a frame of video, but very high resolution video gets exposed onto a piece of film, and then the transport advances another frame and just does it again. So it takes like 2-3 minutes a frame to get it from the computer onto a piece of film.
In the Metro Rail sequence, there was a good portion of that was shot live as well. And what happens is that the train goes beyond the normal service tunnels and into a construction environment. So what we've done is to create in miniature that environment, that construction environment.
This is the largest set we've ever had to do. This set is over 80 feet long. And having to address this incredible amount of set requires a lot of little pieces and parts.
As the train picks up speed and derails, it ultimately slams into a concrete column, splits one of the cars in two, and sends one of the cars up onto Hollywood Boulevard. So that entire sequence there is virtually all miniature. Portions of it are being shot as motion control. For those, you're looking at frame rates something on the order of 4 seconds per frame. And it ranges depending on what the lighting environment wants to be. But as we get into the high-speed photography, we have to scale that for the miniature, which is an 8th scale miniature. Which means to get real-time speed, we need to be shooting at around 68 frames per second. And then to kind of heighten the drama, we then speed the camera up even further on the order of 240 frames per second for some of these shots. So that has kind of that high-speed look to it, even beyond scaling it for its size.
We selected the 1/8 scale mainly because of the amount of equipment that I had to put in these cars. They're powered by 2 1/3 horsepower motors. They have a capable speed of 15 miles an hour. I built these very similar to the way the real cars were built. These are all extruded sections. All the side sections, the roof sections are all extruded. The original cars are stainless steel. We used aluminum and then burnished it. This guy weighs about 150 pounds. And he's going to be doing 15 miles an hour through there, and we've got these cameras right next to the track. The 2 hero cars, which we've already used, we got through. They went through their paces. We derailed one of them, and one of them stayed on the track, and we went around the curve, and one of them derailed. And my concern there was that the power car would also derail because it was going so fast. And if that had happened, it would have turned over sideways and just swept across the entire set. And would have trashed everything. It would have still been a great shot, but it wouldn't have been what the director wanted, so we'd have definitely had some downtime on that one. The ones that are made to destroy, you don't feel so bad about it because your purpose is to create the most realistic looking twisting metal and debris and parts the way you would imagine it would happen. I mean, I doubt seriously whether you'd be able to cut one of these cars in half sliding sideways into a concrete column. I think it would wrap around and that'd be the end of it. But we're actually going to cut it in half. And so what we have to do is design this car to come apart. And when it comes apart, all the seats, all the interior is going to fly out, and it's going to look very realistic, as you can imagine the way it would happen. In the movie business, big is always better.
Well, I think the reason that Speed had scenes had action scenes that I could identify with, which I thought I could do in such a unique way that people were going to like it. Like normally you have a lot of those action scenes, they're always like really, really big, but they never get to things that are very identifiable. It's like always like a little bit over the top. And to me, this like Speed, you know, we have scenes where a bus happens to travel 50 miles an hour all the time or more to be able to survive it. And so you could make simple scenes look extremely interesting, like going around a turn, like a 90-degree turn. That looks so fantastic. Just a simple scene like that. And instead of seeing hundreds of cars flying every direction, it's just to see this bus trying to survive. It's really unique. Actually, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. I mean, I always felt really very comfortable with actors being a DP, and I always talked to them all the time and let them know if I liked it or not liked it, they should do it again. I was always the first one to say to voice my opinion. Maybe sometimes I got a little bit in the way of the directors, but they always seem to like it. And to me, acting is so difficult. You know, I think it's the most difficult part of making a movie. And I have so much respect for them, and I had it all my life. And I think that kind of respect, I say, maybe makes it a little easier to work with them and to deal with them. So it came pretty natural. We've seen our big action heroes in so many movies, and I would love to have seen, trying to see some new faces, a new action hero, and also some younger action hero. And Keanu, has all the talent. He's an incredible actor. He's very physical. He's extremely good looking, very sexy, and he has all the elements in him to be like an incredible, attractive star. He just didn't have the chance yet, and I think this movie is such a great movie for him, and he's so good in it. I love him. I think he's great. Dennis, we want to, also again, I wanted to stay a little bit away of the normal villains you have in movies like this, where they're always like very mean, extremely cruel and things like that. I want to have a guy that you could believe who, was a bad guy, but not like a murderer, killer, etc., but somebody who's just something went wrong one day, something snapped, but still kind of a regular guy, and a little bit on the weird side. And Dennis is, fills all those requirements very easily. He's definitely the weird side. It's like when people who saw the movie, God, I love Dennis. He was so great in it, and I still can't figure out what they really like about it, because he's like, yes, he's a very likable guy, but you're not supposed to like the bad guys. I mean, you're supposed to like the good guy. There's something in it that audiences really seem to like a lot. I mean, I like it myself too, but I can't, it's very hard to pinpoint that. I think Sandy's great. It's like when we started casting, we saw all those actresses, and to me the most important thing was in casting her part is I needed an actress who really you could believe that she could drive this bus, that she would be physically able to do it. She's a very strong woman, very, and also very attractive, of course, but also very, who's very natural. And Sandy is so natural. I mean, everything she does looks like, yeah, you could be your next door neighbor's daughter or so. She's so great, and she's, I mean, to me, she's like a total discovery. I think she's so fantastic. And Jeff is like one of those actors who you instantly like. It's it's a character you instantly recognize as a good guy, and I needed someone who the audience instantly would think of. This is the good guy. I know he's on our side, and he's like, he has a great face. He's a really good actor, and he's something who like represents like a lot of good things in human being, I think. I really like that in him.
It starts off with an extortionist, a mad bomber, has set up a situation in an elevator where, as he's bombed the main cables and it's resting on the emergency brakes, but he says that he's got bombs on that as well, and he's demanding $3 million. You're introduced to Jack Traven and Harry Temple. I'm Jack Traven, and Jeff Daniels is playing Harry Temple, and Herb McMahon, who's Joe Morton, is the lieutenant of the SWAT team. We come in and we come into the building, et cetera, and we try to get the people off the elevator. And Jack Traven, my character, is suspicious. He believes that that the bomber is going to kill everyone anyway as soon as he gets his money. So I set up this thing where I try to get this. I don't want to say that. Anyway, so you're introduced to this. I kind of save the day, kind of. And I think that I get the bad guy, but it turns out that I didn't. And it turned Dennis Hopper is playing the extortionist, the bomber, and he wants a little revenge, and he wants his money. So he blows up one RTD bus with one driver on it, and then he sets up another bus where he says if he tells me on the telephone, I'm watching this one bus blow up, and the phone starts ringing, and it's kind of surreal, and and the people are like, and it's him, and he's saying, there's a bomb on the bus. If it goes under 50 miles, once it goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed, and if it goes under 50 miles an hour, it'll blow up. And what do you do? So I'm trying to get on the bus, and then I get on the bus, and then the bus goes 50, and then it's all about that. And then well, I don't want to say, but then it's following that thing, and it's all about how we chase him and try to save the bus and then get the bomber, etc., until the end. He's LAPD SWAT officer, probably been in SWAT for about 2 years, and he's a very he's aggressive in the sense of that he doesn't like to let anybody get away with what they're trying to do, especially in a hostage situation or anyone like that. He's just very committed and very aggressive, likes to take action and I guess that's it. And he's he's a pretty solid guy, fairly humble, polite, and likes his work, likes to climb rocks and stuff, rappel, and great fun. He's really great. He's spontaneous and so alive and clever, and he's bringing to this character a real kind of loneliness and tragedy, kind of epic tragedy, which I think is very good. She's a beautiful lady. Yeah, very beautiful, giving, and I don't know. She has a nice, such a wonderful energy about her and life, and she's just wherever she goes. I mean, she really gives and wants things to be springtime. So I don't know. I've enjoyed her company immensely. Oh yeah, and she's a really great actress too. No, she is. No, but she is. I mean, she's, again, I mean, the thing that's cool about this film, I mean, it's cast really very well, and the actors are really good. And, she's brought a very, she's been fighting the direction of just being like, the complete damsel in distress. And really, and excuse us for a moment. Nice blouse.
Do you think? I think it's really
nice.
Very cool, huh? How are you?
I'm pretty well.
Okay.
Et voila. What could I say about Jan de Bont? On this picture, I mean, working with him, his concentration is inspiring, and it's one of the things that's been cool is that some of the scenes we've been working on, we've had a writer working on the script as we've been shooting with some of the scenes that we felt could be better, and he's shown a real sensitivity to that. He knows that the character aspect of the action is very, very important, and he's exhibited that interest and belief. We've reshot a couple of scenes already while we've been going because they weren't satisfactory. With what was happening between Jack and Annie, they just, some things were a little forced and a little too trite, and so we were trying to make them better, and he was there. And he's there. I mean, if whatever I ask him, if I need this or if I got that, he's been nice and good.
The story in general of Speed. It's about things going very, very fast. Okay, a police officer gets one of his jobs is to there's a bomb guy. Dennis Hopper's a bomb guy who plants a bomb on this like elevator in like this building, and there are all these hostages, and he and his partner have to go in, dismantle. How do they go in? It's a very delicate situation. They manage to do it, killing the bomb expert. A year later, the bomb expert creeps. It's okay. For crying out loud. Now, a year later, the bomb expert creeps up again. They thought he was dead. And now he's asking for a certain amount of money. So he's planted a bomb on the bus, on one bus, and it explodes. And the next bus is a bus that I'm on, which I take every day. A group of people, we all know each other. I know the bus driver. I'm kind of a loudmouth, sassy, pain in the butt, typecasting. And I get on the bus, and we hit over 50. And he, by this time, has found out that it's our bus that's the next target, so he has to get on the bus. He gets on the bus. Our bus driver gets shot by an insane person who thinks Keanu's after him. Hence, I'm at the wheel, and Keanu's directing me to some place where we can manage to keep the bus going over 50 miles an hour. Hence the airport, because we can drive in a circle. So we drive in a circle, we find out he's watching us. And we cannot get the people off, or he'll explode the bus again. So, I mean, it's every time we think we have a solution, there's something else attached to it. So it's pretty delicate and well written in that way, that there's always, even if you go, well, why didn't he do this? And then you know why, because he's already thought of that. I mean, he's thought of everything that you could possibly think of to get the thing dismantled or get the people off the bus. He managed to get the people off the bus. I'm not going to say how. And Keanu and I get off the bus. You think it's over, and it's not. And that's why we're down the subway, because then we go to something that will go even faster than a bus, because the name of the film is Speed. So, and then, Yeah. Okay. And then we kiss. Okay? And it's really great. Well, I just happen to be one of the passengers on this bus that sort of goes on its daily route. And when Keanu's character jumps on the bus, he's there to sort of alert us to the fact that we can't go under 50 miles an hour. And one of the bus people is obviously been in trouble with the law and thinks Keanu's after him at this time, and pulls a gun. Keanu struggles with the gun, and the gun goes off and shoots our driver. And I happen to be right there in the front seat, so I leap to help the driver, and we need to get the bus under control. So I just think I'm just sitting down to get the bus under control and stop it until Keanu's character lets me know that we must continue down this ridiculous track that we're on. So that's how I get stuck riding the bus. If I had to do it all over again, I would have sat in the back somewhere. I mean, driving the bus, I thought, okay, this is going to be nice. I get to sit, drive the bus for a couple of weeks. It's not as easy as it looks. So I was stuck there. So it will be a very fast film. Eloquently said by Sandra Bullock. In Demolition Man, I did a little bit of action, but it was pretty much Sly and Wesley's film, and I was like the Muppet, I was sort of like the comedy part. And here it was just another great part, and I mean, it just happens to be in a film where there's action. But I think this is more of like a thriller than it is an action film. I mean, there's not a lot of punching it. There's a lot of activity, but there's not a lot of like set action. I mean, it's all about this thing going faster and faster. And here you have two people that are very rigid and sort of set in their ways and sort of like this, and they're caught up in this thing that's totally out of control, which is something that they're not used to. So if you look at it as action films, yeah, they have action in them, but I mean, this is it for me. I mean, well, who knows? I mean, maybe 5 years down the line, I'll find, Rambo 6. I'll find another part that I happen to like in an action film. So, you take the good parts regardless of whether, I do. I took them whether they happen to be in an action film and whether they're in a animated film. I don't know. It just, wherever the good part is, I guess, I take it. I tend not to be around for the stunts because, I pretty much consider myself a jinx. Every time I've been around something like a stunt, something has gone wrong, and it's always been when I'm there, always. I mean, it never fails. So I try not to watch because I figure my being nervous doesn't help everybody else. So I try to stay away unless I happen to be involved somewhere, because I'm not involved in any of the stunts. I mean, I don't do anything that incredibly exciting except for maybe sliding on this little board, but I tend to not stay around because I think I mess it up. I'm bad karma for these stunt people, so I kind of stay away and stay at the craft service somewhere. So that's where, when the stunt's going on, you see me stuff in my face. Keanu is it's hard to explain. I could sit here and say he's a really nice guy, but the thing that I'm sure most people don't know about Keanu is that I've really developed an incredible amount of respect for Keanu because he's so honest. I mean, he's like, there's no BS about Keanu. He doesn't say or do anything to make anybody else happy. He does what he feels is right, and he says what he feels, and he works so incredibly hard. I mean, it's rare that you get a fellow actor who says, you know, is there anything else that I can change for you? Would you like me to do something? What is it that's not working for you? Can I change something? Because, you know, that's incredibly rare, and there's no BS about him. There's nothing fake. And you feel, when I first started being around him, I felt incredibly jaded, and like all the bad thoughts that I was thinking, I felt like a horrible human being because he's pretty equal with everybody. I mean, he doesn't seem to think any bad thoughts, so I felt pretty rotten for like the first couple of weeks. And you just get to hang out with him, and just there's an incredible ease that's attached to Keanu, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's peace of mind or what it is, but it's so comforting just to be around for long periods of time. And I didn't expect that from him at all. You know, he's Keanu. He has every reason to be stuck up and, you know, have a big head, but he's not that way at all. He's a really, really nice person, a really wonderful person. And it's really nice to be around that for a change, you know. So it's really a joy. Enough about Keanu, more about me. I mean, all the history of Dennis Hopper, I mean, you know, it should be really interesting. I mean, what I like about his style is that I like to play. I don't like to, you know, sometimes if you just go off in, you know, improv and banter and things like that, he seems like he could hold, you know, of course he's going to hold his own, but, you know, he'll be there with you. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth, and I like that because that always makes me fresh. So as long as he doesn't kill me in there, you know, he can pretty much do what he wants. He's Dennis Hopper. He's very nice. He's very sweet. I mean, everybody's got their dark side, you know, I'm sure that's his dark side on screen, but he's a really cool guy. Jan's been a DP for God knows how many years. He's done some of the biggest projects, so obviously he's been around some of the greatest directors, and that's the best, I think the best lesson, you know, you can get. I don't think you can get better training. And he's worked with top actors, so I wasn't panicked at all. I mean, there was no reason for anybody to be panicked because you have the best of both worlds. You know it's going to look incredibly great, and the scene is going to move in the camera, but then it's also going to move, you know, I think it's going to have movement in the scene itself. So he's done, you would never know he's a first-time director, ever. And I don't think there's any way he could be like a first-time director because he's had so much experience under his belt. He's probably directed for a lot of directors that we just don't know about, you know. So he's doing a great job. I feel incredibly comfortable. You know, anybody who'll trust you enough to let you fly is obviously confident enough in what he's doing, and then, you know, every once in a while he'll pull me back and say, just don't do that again and we'll be okay. Don't play that scene at all like you played it, but it was great. Just don't do that. But I think he's doing a great job. Even if he was doing a horrible job, I wouldn't say he's doing a horrible job. Well, my character's name is Annie in the film, so I think the sequel should be called Annie, Get Your Gun and Help Keanu Out. So I've gotten my gun. Sam, I'm good, all right?
It's a big action picture. It's big. I don't know whether we can really talk about where speed comes from, but I've rigged a bus so that when it hits 50 miles an hour, the bomb arms itself. And if it drops below 50, it will blow everybody up on the bus. And I have computers, and I can watch the people on the bus, and I can blow people up, and interactive TV, I call it. My character calls it. So if somebody tries to get off the bus, he can blow up a step or whatever. He's got the whole bus rigged. I play the lead heavy. He's an ex-cop, got a gold watch for retirement, bomb expert, had a little accident. He feels that people like Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell got a lot of money for their autobiography. He feels that he spent his life in the service of LAPD, and that he wants $3 million, or he's going to blow a lot of people up. And that's really who I play. He's a very strange character. I really don't. What he does is crazy and insane, but I really try not to play him as an insane person. Try to play him more logical. Jan and I talked about the fact that he knows, he's a very intelligent guy, knows what he wants, and unfortunately is going to kill a lot of people to get it. You know, there's no backstory on the guy at all. We know he's an ex-cop. That makes one of his bombs out of his gold watch, his retirement watch, so they know who he is. Tells him he doesn't have time to explain what he's doing. He just feels he's owed the money, and when they get to be his age, if they stay in and are lucky enough to be alive, they'll understand why he's doing what he's doing. So that's not the kind of thing where you have a big back psychological story. Jack asks him, Keanu asks him at one point, is it your hand? Was it the explosion? And he says, I just feel that I was owed more than I got, better than I got. That's all. You know, I've never really been in any of these big action movies, so it's a whole different experience for me. I mean, sometimes I'm doing a scene, there'll be 10 or 15 cameras running, and I'll have a page of dialogue, and it's all tied into a bus exploding behind me. So if I miss a line, I go, oh, well, gee, can we do one more? You got another bus? You know. I get shot in the throat, smashed through a door. Let's see, I fire a lot of automatic weapons. Jumping on and off trains. Yeah, I've been doing a little bit. Well, I mean, I've never done anything of this new genre of action films. I mean, through the years, I have, you know, I've been doing this for about 34 years or something. So I have done fights and action stuff. I just haven't done it on this scale. I did the first movie Keanu ever did, River's Edge. We starred in it together. And he's a wonderful guy. It's really easy to work with. Well, I think Sandra Bullock is really amazing young woman. She's playing the female lead. And Jeff Daniels is a wonderful actor. It should be really interesting. Jan de Bont is a cinematographer. This is his first film that he's directed. He's one of the great action cinematographers, and it's been really a pleasure working with him. He's really a good director. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from him just watching him move his cameras around. He's very, very understanding of the acting, very simpatico. It's been really a very easy shoot in that aspect.
I play SWAT cop Harry Temple.
What kind of person is he?
Harry has been around a while. He's seen a lot, and he's got this young Jack Traven character, whatever he calls himself, and the kid, you know, and he's dragging this, not kid, I mean, he's talented as a SWAT cop, you know, Keanu Reeves' character, but the kid takes chances, and Harry's, you know, these guys are very safety first, and you don't put each other at risk, and Jack's kind of a renegade when it comes to jumping into the room or going down towards the elevator where we should get back up first and all this stuff. So Jack breaks rules, and Harry kind of goes, you know, your luck will run out someday, and you were lucky, you know. The whole trick is trying to make it look like, you know, like you're actually, you know, took some SWAT training, you know, like try to make it look like you were a SWAT cop, you know. That's the whole thing. That's the whole trick here. We're not trying to, like, you know, do great art here, you know, because it's a rare occurrence that you have 3 lines that are strung together. So there isn't. So it's basically trying not to look like an actor, you know, as you go across the I-beam however many stories up in the elevator shaft, and you come and you're studying the bomb with your MP5 machine gun and the whole I mean, just all the paraphernalia you have to wear, you know, and handle and make it look like you've trained with this stuff for years and years and years. We've got some SWAT guys, some technical guys that have been very helpful. And because I told the guys up front, I said, I don't want to look like an actor, man. Just come on, just let me go into the room the way you're supposed to, not the way we see on TV or something. And so that's basically what it is, and then staying out of the way of the bombs. It just seems to me that we're every page and a half, we're either going 100 miles an hour, blowing something up, or getting blown up. So it's like no other movie I've ever done, that's for sure. But it's been very exciting because I mean it really is 100 miles an hour. I mean, once this, the bombing thing in the elevator and the whole thing, and I mean, it just doesn't stop. It's just one thing after another. Finding this guy and the bus and the whole thing, it just takes off. I mean, the movie just takes off because there's so much action in it, and so it's been pretty exciting. It's been fine because, Jack and Harry are supposed to have, this kind of rapport together, and we really don't have that many pages to do it or to get it done, and it's been fine. I mean, we've had a good time. I mean, we've had a couple of scenes where it's tough to get through them because, there's a twinkle in the eye, and suddenly he's like, he's laughing and he can't, and that's kind of what we've tried to do with Jack and Harry, is that these guys have worked together a long time and they're friends and they like each other, and that's usually the case in a lot of movies where you're thrown into, some situation with another actor or actress and instantly have to breed this kind of familiarity. It's kind of, we've known each other for years. Keanu and I don't have any love scenes, so that's good, as far as, that kind of, hi, how are you, nice to meet you. For you to do that kind of, second day of the shoot, and you're in bed together, I didn't know, you got a mole there. Interesting. But no, we've done. It's been fun. Had a good time with him. Sandy I met. I don't have anything with her. Worked with Dennis, and he's, it's Dennis Hopper. It's Easy Rider. Here he comes. It's Mr. Nike commercial. The ref. I mean, there he is. It's like, oh, Dennis. Still here, huh? Still kicking, huh? Still doing it. That's great. He's been great. I mean, he's real easy to talk to, and it's great to get, to run across those people. I mean, I hope I'm around doing it as long as he's been. I mean, I really admire those guys that are still doing it, because it's a business that chews people up, spits them out, and yeah, I was glad to hear that he got that he was going to do the role, and even though our basic scene together is he's got me around, he's dragging me out of an elevator, but it's my scene with Dennis. He's been fine because I didn't really, I mean, I knew that and I didn't expect anything. I mean, I expected it was going to be, okay, direct yourself, kind of hit your mark so he can, do his action shots. But no, he steps in and goes, Demolition Derby starts tonight. No, but Jan's been very good. I mean, I didn't expect much, and that, direct yourself. Kind of, which sometimes happens, but no, he steps in and says, I need Harry to be this or be that or be a little more compassionate or to jump on Jack a little bit more, and I mean he's watching the acting value, I mean there is some attention paid to that, so, and he knows the camera so well. I mean you kind of watch to see where he puts the camera and the ideas that he gets. reminds me a little bit of like Woody Allen during Purple Rose of Cairo. I mean, Woody would rewrite after 2 or 3 takes and come up with a different idea, move this around, take this line out, stuff like that. And Jan with the camera, I mean, just, we need a shot here. I mean, he can see it. I mean, he sees things. You can tell that there's a real cinematic kind of director of photography eye going on there, and it's been great to watch.